KevOnStage inks a historic creative partnership. A beloved sneaker brand is struggling to sell one of its most popular sneakers, and Kevin Hart is making headlines, and it's not because of the Netflix roast. This is the Kickback Briefing. Welcome to the Kickback with Keri podcast. I'm your host, Keri Henderson, and this is a Kickback Briefing episode where we talk about the latest wins, challenges, and stories shaping business and culture and some of the biggest lessons we can learn from them. In this episode, we're talking about comedian KevOnStage's expansive deal with Tubi. We're talking about the Jordan brand struggling to sell their Air Jordan 1 sneaker and some of the leadership lessons we can learn from the turmoil that is happening at Kevin Hart's Heartbeat Media Company. So let's get into these stories. The first one is KevOnStage deal with Tubi. So according to Deadline, the free ad-supported streaming service Tubi has set its most expansive creative partnership yet, a multi-project, multi-year deal with KevOnStage Fredericks. If you guys are familiar with KevOnStage, you guys know he has been creating content for a very long time. Last year, he created a show with Tubi called Safe Space, which is a hilarious comedy. And with this deal, this new creative partnership, he'll get to create 2 more seasons of Safe Space, a new scripted workplace comedy, his first comedy special, and an original feature film for the platform. Now, here's why Tubi probably decided partnering with Kev was a good idea. Because according to AfroTech, KevOnStage is Tubi's highest volume creator. He has generated $10.6 million in earned media value across 116 posts on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where he has a huge following. If you guys follow him, you know he posts literally, I think on 7 different platforms. He did a breakdown once. He posts on at least on 7 different platforms 3 to 4 times a week. Oh no, 3 to 4 times a day, excuse me. Not a week, a day. In a recent interview with Blex Media, Kev shared that this deal gives him full creator control and a complete ownership. Y'all, what did we talk about last month? We talked about ownership being the currency. So once again, this is another example of why it is so important to own your own content and create your own audience, because you can get deals like this. 2 things that stood out to me. Number 1, if you guys have been following Kevin a very long time, I think it was about 5 years ago. I want to say it was around COVID. He had launched the KevOnStage Studios app. And the purpose of the app was like a Netflix, right? You get subscribers, he could create original content, he could create opportunities for other creators of color. And so when he first launched the app, he got a bunch of us on there. We watched his show Churchy, which he eventually licensed to BET, and we were on there. But the problem is when you have a streaming platform like that, you have to get people to continue to subscribe. So people would pay for the app, we'd watch our shows, but people weren't doing this reoccurring subscription, or he wasn't able to get reoccurring of revenue, new subscribers, right? And building an app is very, very hard. So eventually he let the app go. But when I heard this deal with Tubi and I thought back to the app that he created, I'm like, was the app the goal, or was creating content, original content, giving opportunities to creators and getting it on a platform for the masses to see is the goal? Because if that was the goal, he accomplished it, right? The app was the right idea, the wrong time. He is now in a position where he can create original content, he can create opportunities for other creators of color, and he doesn't have the burden or the responsibility to keep generating reoccurring revenue so that he can fund those projects and fund those creators, right? He has a platform with Tubi that allows him to create the content, house the content, get it in front of his audience and new audience without that burden. So it really is a win-win. He showed proof of concept when he had his app. He had a ton of original content on there. As I mentioned, he licensed one of his shows to BET from putting it on that app first. And now he is able to create new content on Tubi. So I love that he had that experience, because it wasn't really a failure. It was a lesson learned, and it was really a setup for what was coming down the pipeline. The second thing that stood out to me in this deal is that this is proof again that we are living in a creator economy. Last month we talked about Jason Lee, how he built his platform, he owned his audience, and he was able to license his content, his show with BET. KevOnStage built his audience, built his platform. Not only does he create content across multiple platforms, he also has a Patreon, the stage crew. He has a massive following. Someone else I think about, Country Wayne. Country Wayne was on Earn Your Leisure. He has been creating content probably just as long as KevOnStage has. He amasses over 1 billion views a month on social media. Yeah, y'all heard me correctly, 1 billion. He makes 8 figures creating content on platforms like Facebook and YouTube, right? He has a built-in audience. And one of the things he talked about was basically any number that he asked for, if any company, any studio, any platform were to come to him, he has earned the right to ask for that number because he is generating 8 figures and he gets 1 billion views. So what this signals to me is that we are now living in a time where creators don't need massive studio backing. They don't need streaming backing. Those platforms need creators. Creators are now creating their content, building their audiences, creating opportunities for other people without the need and the backing of studios. And so they have the upper hand, right? We live in a time now where all of us as an audience are craving original content. For a long time, we had original content, and then we got to a place where everything is a reboot. Remake, reboot, we don't need any more remakes. We don't need any more reboots. We want original content. And so because we are seeing creators not rely on a system to get out there and create the content that they want to see, that their audience wants to see, they now have the upper hand. They now can have these amazing deals with these studios and streaming platforms because they bring the audience, they bring the originality, they bring the views. And so they have what these streaming platforms and studios are looking for. So it is a win. It's a win-win for both of them, but it's really a win for creators because they hold all the cards, they have the upper hand, and they can ask for the numbers that they deserve because they have proof that, hey, I have this built-in audience, I've been creating this content, I get these views, I'm generating this money on my own. So I don't necessarily need a studio or a streaming platform. Those streaming platforms and studios need them. So I love this for him. I love this for any creator out here who is building their own. This is a reminder to all of us. Own your stuff. Like I told y'all last month, own your content and build your audience. Because when you do that, you have leverage and you can take that audience and that content wherever you want to go, right? So if you had an idea about something, you've been thinking about starting something, creating something, this is your reminder. You have all you need to get started, okay? Go ahead, get started, create that content, and build your audience. The second story I wanted to get into was Jordan Brand. So I found this story on HipHop Wired a couple of days ago, and they're reporting that the Jordan Brand is looking to drastically reduce the number of Air Jordan 1 sneakers that they released in the coming years because that sneaker continues to sit on shelves for weeks and months at a time every time they drop. Essentially, according to HipHop Wire, the resale market for this sneaker is dead, okay? And so executives have to take a different approach. And it's surprising to me because at a time, y'all know there was a time where you couldn't get your hands on a pair of Jordan Air Ones, okay? In high school, I forget the name of the magazine, and I'm gonna look it up after I'm done with this episode. There was a magazine we used to get in the mail. It was a sneaker magazine, and it would list like all the new releases that were coming out every week, every couple weeks. And people would be in line early in the morning trying to get themselves a pair of sneakers. It wasn't an Air Jordan 1, but I remember in high school I wanted a pair of sneakers, and they're of course $125. And my mom was like, I'm not buying you $125 sneakers. So I had to save up my money from, working in the summer and bought these sneakers. And even though I was late to the game, I was excited because getting a pair of Jordans was the thing, right? And so to hear that the Jordan Brand is now struggling, I'm just like, well, what happened? Is it a sign that we are no longer in a sneaker culture? Is it the price point? Because the shoes now are over $200. And on the resale market, depending on the colorway, they can be hundreds of dollars. And people are not, in this economy, people are not spending that much for sneakers. They're just not going to do it. I saw this suggestion in this article from Sneaker News, and I agree wholeheartedly. Essentially, they suggested that instead of doing these drops over and over and over again, that the Jordan Brand reserve drops for meaningful moments, right? An event, holidays, selected collaborations, and I wholeheartedly agree. When you're a legacy brand like the Jordan Brand and you find yourself like in a stalemate, you got to get creative. So I would love to see them work on a partnership, whether with an athlete or maybe it's another brand. I don't know if I've ever seen the Jordan Brand partner with another brand. Usually it's like a celebrity or athlete, but what does a brand partnership, like cross-brand promotion look like? what are some cultural moments that they could collaborate on? I know, they have to spend time, months, you got to map out a whole release. But what if they had, like right now, they had a drop for like the Knicks being in the finals, right? Knicks haven't been in the finals in like 30 years. What if they had like a drop, like an Air Jordan Knicks collaboration going on? That would be fire, because the city of New York is so excited for the Knicks right now. I can see that being a cultural moment. And so they're going to have to look for new opportunities to get people excited. They have to look for new colorways, maybe some colorways we haven't seen before. Because like, how many red and black colorways do we need? How many orange and black colorways do we need? Give us something we haven't seen before. So I would love to see them collaborate with brands, with other organizations in sports. I think that would be really cool, and some really cultural moments that they could do a drop. Now I know those moments have to be planned, so maybe it's around festivals or, I don't know. The sky is the limit, but I do agree that they're gonna have to get some fresh ideas for the brand to get people excited again, because the same colorways for $200+, I think people are kind of like moved past that at this point. So let me know what you guys think about that when it comes to sneakers, especially because us millennials, we love ourselves some Jordans, okay? We love ourselves some Jordans. Like at this point when I buy sneakers now, whether it's Jordans, Nikes in general, it's really like, oh, there's a colorway I don't have that I really, really want, because I've been, there's certain outfits in my head. I'm like, I would love if I had this colorway. I would love if I had this colorway. That's the only time now I'm really buying sneakers. I'm not really doing like every drop that comes out. I haven't been really paying attention to drops like that. It's really on a needed basis. So to get people excited, and I think a lot of people are at that point, like they're getting sneakers on a needed basis. Like, I need this colorway, I need this height. To get people excited again, you're gonna have to switch it up. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that. The third story is Kevin Hart. So I know Kevin Hart was in the news because of the roast on Netflix and his response to the feedback to the roast on Netflix. I know. We're not talking about that. We're actually talking about the leadership style and a lesson you can learn if you are a business owner, founder, or a visionary. So when the roast happened on Netflix, shortly after, I want to say maybe like a day or two, a bunch of headlines swirled online about his company, Heartbeat Media, being in turmoil. And of course, he defended the restructuring, the layoffs that are happening at his company when he was on the Breakfast Club, saying that these articles, were clickbait, which could be true. Like, the timing was a little suspicious. Y'all wait till after everybody's upset about the roast to drop the news about the company. But two things can be true. The timing can be bad, and his company could be in turmoil. According to the LA Times, he became CEO of the company in January 2025. But weeks after that, he wasn't really in the office very much, and so a lot of the leadership responsibilities he put onto his senior executives. The company last year went through restructuring. They did a lot of staff cuts, and so by December of 2025, they had a meeting with the staff to talk about the staff cuts. And during that meeting, according to the LA Times and according to anonymous employees, Kevin Hart did not turn his camera on during the meeting with the staff to talk about the cuts. He talked for a few minutes, he took no questions, and he changed his phone number in the weeks following the layoffs at his company. And apparently some of his advisors had suggested that he do this years earlier so that he wasn't available. Now, if you're going to be CEO of your company, I need you to look like you care, okay? I need you to look like you care, which means if I'm going to be CEO, I should probably be showing up to the office. If you're going to be CEO, you should probably be taking questions that the team has about staff cuts, right? You should probably turn your camera on. You want to look like you care. But the second thing that really stood out to me about this is that all visionaries cannot run the show. I know. You came up with the business idea. Your name is on the building. You are the talent. They use your name, image, and likeness. You are the brand. Those things can be true, but that doesn't mean you should also be CEO of your company. Sometimes the visionary is the visionary, and you're going to have to take a step back and find people that have the organizational skills and the leadership skills to run the day-to-day business. In this instance, and I'm just going off of energy, okay? Kevin Hart doesn't really give CEO energy, okay? He doesn't really give, I'm going to show up to the office, I want to sit and be here and talk to employees. He very much gives, I'm going to be on tour, I'm going to be on set, I'm going to go out and get this money. he doesn't give CEO energy. And that is okay. You don't have to be CEO. You can still be ownership of your have ownership of your company. Of course, you're going to be the owner. You're still going to get paid. But just because you're an owner and the visionary doesn't necessarily mean you have the skill set to be CEO. This is what happens sometimes. We see owners become CEO and then they're like business goes up in flames, or there's a lot of turmoil, or there's not oversight, and things are happening that they're not aware of because they're not present, because they don't have the skill set and the capability, and it's just not their ministry to be CEO. So that was the biggest lesson I wanted to take away. I'll leave the links to the articles in the show notes, and you guys can read about all the things that are happening as a company, because it was some other stuff that was happening, and I was like, now Heartbeat, y'all being a little bit foul with your employees. Some other stuff happened, but when I read that part, it really stuck out to me, because I think there's a misconception that if you're the owner of a business and you're the brains and the visionary behind the business, that you also need to run the business. And that is not necessarily true. So that was just my 2 cents about that. I have thoughts about the roast and his response to the feedback, y'all, but we're not gonna talk about that here. If you want me to talk about that, I can do that in a different episode, because I have a lot of thoughts and I agree with a lot of y'all. But anyway, those were the 3 stories I wanted to cover today in this Kickback briefing. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in to these episodes. Let me know if you guys are still enjoying these Kickback briefing episodes. As you guys know, these were new. I started them this year. You know, we're adding a little razzle dazzle to the way we do episodes on the podcast. I want to try something different. Somebody did tell me, shout out to Yvonne for Coffee with Yvonne. She did let me know she enjoys these Kickback briefing episodes. She said these are her favorite. So if you guys have been enjoying them too, let me know on YouTube in the comments. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.